Abraham Studio recently released a demo for their new game Roguebook, and if you've ever played the exceedingly well-received mega-crit game Slay the Spire before, you'll feel right at home in this new adventure. One look at the main gameplay and the influences are immediately noticeable. The broader concept of Roguebook is the same as we saw in Slay the Spire. It's a roguelike deck builder in which you traverse 3 chapters of enemies and exploration before fighting a boss at the end of each region. The structure, flow, and look of the combat is also heavily influenced by Megacrit's work. But for every element that Roguebook pulls from the Slay the Spire playbook, and it's a lot, it almost always innovates in some way. And that's what I want to take a look at today as we address the merits of both imitation and innovation. First, some brief background on Roguebook itself. The game's developers are the same people who released Feria, a game which I have not played, so I can't speak to the comparisons there other than obvious similarities in art styles. Roguebook takes place within the Feria universe, and you play the game within the world's book of lore. So your game world here is basically the unpainted pages of a storybook. I love the game's art style. It's vibrant, colorful, and very clearly oozes a classic fantasy look. While Slay the Spire provides us with a darker, grungier fantasy world to explore, Roguebook looks more like the deck-building offspring of Hearthstone and Child of Light. There's a wondrous and playful style at work here, almost like a painting come to life, and that style is consistent for the most part across characters, enemies, environments, and animations. In the full game, you have 4 heroes that you can choose from to partner up, though the demo we're looking at today limits you to being able to only select 2 of the 4. Each one of these heroes comes with different strengths and themes to their respective cards, and the ability to pair the heroes up makes for some really interesting interactions between them in the heat of battle. More on that later. So as you're seeing a lot of this footage right now, the comparisons to Slay the Spire are likely already running through your head, and you're not wrong. But I want to focus on what Roguebook does differently. How does it take the framework laid by its biggest inspirations and make something new out of them? And does it succeed in doing so? Let's start with the Map and Overworld. When you begin a run in Roguebook, you're tossed into a honeycomb map within a storybook-like world. It's a true overworld that you're able to explore rather than the simple map system in Slay the Spire, and you explore it in an interesting way as well. You start your run with a limited number of brushes that you can use to paint the world around you, which basically reveals undiscovered areas. You can also gain specialty brushes from battles that allow you to do this as well. Now the pathway to the boss is always the same. It's a straight line that you can cruise through by taking on a couple of battles. So it's not so much that Roguebook implements a system that allows you to create your own path, it's that it allows you to explore the area your own way with the hopes of upgrading your characters and deck before the final boss fight. You have to implement the same strategies as in Slay the Spire as far as which encounters you want to take on, finding that balance between risking a fight that could reward you with a special item, or just playing it safe with an easier path. The combat is also extremely familiar, but comes with a few significant twists, the most important being that instead of controlling one character, in Roguebook you control 2, and each of those characters has their own set of cards that only they can use. Imagine playing Slay the Spire as both the Defect and the Watcher, but sharing a deck between them, and you're on the right track here. In addition to providing variety and synergies between deck abilities, this allows the game to use a positioning mechanic. In Roguebook, you are frequently switching the position of your heroes from front to back to play to certain strengths and weaknesses. It's like a wild fantasy card version of Mario Kart Double Dash, except that in Roguebook, you can't change positions at will. There are certain cards that trigger this movement, and certain cards that are more effective depending on the position of your character. So you have to consider this factor when determining your play that turn. You also share a blocking value between both characters, and the character in the front is the one who is attacked by enemies. All this makes for some interesting decisions about maximizing the effectiveness of your hand, deciding which hero you want to take damage, and other situations that add depth to the combat system. All of these changes make for a more complex, arguably deeper game, but the most important question is, does that matter? I would argue that part of the appeal to a game like Slay the Spire is its simplicity and accessibility. All of the additional thought that goes into a run in Roguebook definitely can feel more fatiguing in a way compared to Slay the Spire, where many of those extra decisions are either made for you or cut down to a simple yes or no choice. After playing a few runs of Roguebook, I went back and played some Slay the Spire, and there was something nice about not having to worry about all the added depth, to just focus on putting your energy into the battles. Take the map systems, for example. Roguebook greatly expands on the idea of exploration compared to Slay the Spire's streamlined approach, and it delivers a neat, if somewhat basic world to uncover. It provides more options to the player as far as how and when you want to take an action, and doesn't limit you to just choosing a fork in the road. So if you're the type of player who loves exploring and you like the idea of taking more time to formulate a plan for how you're going to traverse this world, Roguebook may be up your alley. If the appeal of roguelikes to you is more the fast-paced nature of them, this feature may turn you off a bit. The same type of argument could be made for the added complexity of the combat system in having to work with two characters, though we won't really know the true depth of the combat until the full game is released. In theory, there should be more strategy involved in Roguebook, or at least more combinations of strategy. But it can definitely be difficult to toe the line between providing players with increasing complexity and overwhelming them with too much to worry about. So is this venture into a broader scope going to end up hurting a game like Roguebook? Or is it just a difference in design direction that can still work in its own right? We won't really know until the full game is released, but I think it's a risk worth taking. As a channel that focuses on breaking down design choices in games, I'm almost always in favor of games like Roguebook, even in the cases when they don't end up meeting the high standards set by the games that inspired them. Will you enjoy Roguebook as much as you've enjoyed Slay the Spire? Or will another game come along that bests them both? That's impossible for me to say, but the important thing to me is that Roguebook takes enough chances and it innovates in enough ways that it truly is its own permutation of the formula, rather than a simple copycat. And we see time and time again in this industry when this approach is a good thing. It's also likely that we'll see some of the elements used in Roguebook in upcoming games in this genre. For example, I could definitely see a future Slay the Spire hero that utilizes some kind of dual character mechanic. Games will forever be compared to each other, especially in cases when the influences between the two are so heavy. But oftentimes taking a good idea and adding an interesting spin on it is ultimately what leads to innovation, and gamers should be welcoming innovation with open arms. Roguebook definitely does this, and when the game is officially released later this year, at the very least we'll be given another well-made deck-building roguelike. Will it stand up to the hundreds of hours that gamers have been known to put into a game like Slay the Spire? We don't know yet, but with a design that looks this good, is this polished mechanically, and brings a lot of new things to the table, I'm excited to see more of what Roguebook has to offer.
That was fun!